All right, everyone, time for the introduction on taxes. So, first question, what is a tax? Since I can't hear anyone answering, hopefully you are thinking to yourself, but basically this is when the government adds a charge on top of something, some transaction that's already taking place. And why would they do that? Why tax? Well, there's a couple different reasons that we could think of here. The main one is because if governments are going to do things, if they're going to provide services, they need to raise revenue to do that. So one reason that governments impose taxes, and probably the main reason that they do it, is to raise revenue. The other reason that they may impose taxes is to modify behavior. These are, I believe, are the two biggest reasons. Maybe there are other reasons why governments impose taxes sometimes, but these, I think, are the two big ones: to raise revenue and to modify behavior. And when we say modify behavior, we mean to discourage things that the government believes might be bad for us. So you might tax alcohol or tobacco or carbon, for example. You could also subsidize, like be a negative tax, if you subsidize things that you believe are beneficial. So there might be tax credits or deductions for interest, home interest, or like mortgage interest, right? Or for installing energy efficient windows or adding solar panels or something like that. So we might use taxes to modify behavior. And now, the question that I think is probably burning on the front of all of your minds is, how do we show this on a graph, right? Oops, it's not a very good happy face. That's just to say, if that's the question on your mind, how do we show this on a supply and demand graph? That's good, right? That's an exciting result for me. And so that's what we're going to do here in a moment. But first, we have to talk a little bit about tax incidents. So there are two kinds of incidents that I want you to be aware of. One is legal incidents, and legal incidents has to do with the party that initially pays the tax. So we're going to say the party who initially pays the tax. They bear the legal incidence of the tax. The economic incidence, on the other hand, that is the party who bears the burden of the tax. So we say who bears the burden of the tax. That is, who gives up surplus, who is made worse off by the tax. They bear the economic incidence. So the legal incidence is the party who initially pays the tax, and you can control that when you make the tax. Say, we're going to tax consumers this amount, or we're going to tax producers this amount. So a sales tax is a tax levied on consumers, so the consumers bear the legal incidence of that tax. An excise tax is a tax that's paid by the producers before. So taxes on gasoline and cigarettes, those are excise taxes. They're paid before the final purchase. Sales tax is a tax on consumers. Payroll taxes, Medicare, Social Security, those that 7.65% of your wages that gets withheld for payroll taxes, that's actually paid by both. The worker pays 7.65% and the employer has to pay 7.65%. So there the legal incidence is split, shared between both the employer and the employee. So legal incidence is who pays the tax. Economic incidence is the party who bears the burden of the tax, and that's where we need the graph to see that happen. So the next part, this is our quick intro. Right? So think of this as the introduction to taxes. Next up, we are going to get to the graphing part. Right? That's the part right here that made us happy in the next video.